This is the LCDVF BM5 for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and 6K from Kinotehnik.
The Cinema 5D virtual show is brought to you by B&H, the professional source for all your video needs. CVP, the leading specialist in creative cine, video and photo solutions. Fujifilm, value from innovation. Fomex, devoted to remarkable light. And SERP, better films.
Welcome everybody to the Cinema 5D virtual show. My name is Nino and this is our replacement for the NAB and Photokina shows that never happened. I'm today on the call with Tõnis from Kinotehnik in Estonia. How are you?
Yeah, hi Nino. Doing pretty well. Fortunately, everybody are safe and good.
That's great to hear. Actually, it's nice to see you. We usually always catch up at the trade shows, of course. And there's a nice kind of anniversary, right? We are sharing together because you wrote me an email and reminded me that LCDVF was really kind of born in the Cinema 5D forum or website.
Yeah. It was a time before Kickstarter was even launched, and basically at Cinema 5D forums I made a topic about this LCDVF, this original viewfinder that goes on back of your camera screen when this Canon 5D.
I have it here as well.
When this Canon 5D Mark II was big thing, and I think it was almost exactly 11 years ago when I made that topic, and then in about a half a year we went into production, and by now I guess we have sold like about 100,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's amazing.
It has become kind of this iconic design that is copied many times. Albeit, we have some intellectual property rights, and we can, of course, these days many cameras have electronic viewfinders and so on. So it isn't as much maybe needed, but it's still kind of this original invention, this LCDVF, which actually stands for Liquid Crystal Display Viewfinder. So, yeah. And it has been a great ride ever since. And I think from this Cinema 5D forum topic, I found the first 300 customers.
And that's very cool.
Back then I was doing all the plastic casting and all the rubber casting by myself in my studio. And basically I could only make 4 in a day. but the first 300 I really want to thank them.
Actually, I really had no idea that you sold that many. I mean, I knew it was popular, and we all know that these things are, I mean, loops in general for DSLRs, as you said, are kind of a must-have. We always, at the time, we recommended to get a loop for your DSLR, for your 5D or whatever it was at the time, your 550D or something like that. It's the number one accessory next to an ND filter that you really need to have once you're using one of those cameras for video, because as you said, you were not able to use the built-in mirror viewfinder, the analog viewfinder, so to speak, in a DSLR. And actually, this is still the case to this very day with any DSLR, not with the mirrorless cameras anymore, as you said, because they have digital EVFs now, or EVFs, and but with DSLRs it's still necessary. But actually, we're here to talk about a very prominent kind of new camera, extremely popular camera that you have adapted this design for, right?
And this is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, and this is the 6K version. They have also this 4K version. So I designed the same type of screen viewing loop for this camera, and to some extent this is the first one that is specially designed to be kind of streamlined with this camera and this 5-inch screen. And it uses the same magnets, and you have this metal frame around your screen, and then you can just pop it on and off and use the lanyard to secure it around your neck if you don't want to lose it. And it's really easy to go on and off from there. And for the size comparison, it's almost like twice as big, and also the optics inside have a much different formula to it.
When you started talking, you had to laugh when you said pocket cinema camera, because I agree with you, nothing about this camera is pocketable. I mean, they also called it, you know, they have the Ursa Mini, which is also not mini. So, I mean, I guess they have bigger pockets in Australia, but nevertheless, it's a very nice camera and it's extremely popular. And when you told me that you're working on one of these, I thought it's a great idea. I probably know why many other manufacturers have not made this, and we can see why. It's really large. But having said that, if you want to add something to this camera, which is like a monitor, it's the same kind of thing. You just have it on top, yeah. So this is big, but it's also, as you also mentioned, a very great way of stabilizing the camera. Because as we know, you need points of contact with your body. That's also the reason why a camera on the shoulder is always better than a camera in your hands, because you will have another point of contact on your shoulder, and you will have another point of contact looking through the viewfinder like this. So in this case, it will be the two hands and the viewfinder which will stabilize this camera, because this is also not a stabilized sensor. So this is very, very important. And you've sent us one of these already a couple months ago, actually. I think this is still maybe one of the earlier units, and asked me for feedback for how it's sticking and stuff. And actually, we're reviewing it. And I have to say that you nailed it, in my opinion, because the difficult part, and we've seen this with many other solutions also in the old days of the 5D Mark II, when some manufacturers made the magnets too strong that actually it could almost rip out the screen, and then sometimes too loose when it was constantly falling off. And I think you also have your experience with this over all those years.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I think you nailed it. I mean, it's always, it's really, oops, see, that's a bad demonstration, but the way, if you use it normally, it really sticks on, but it's not so hard to take off. So I think you nailed it here, but it's still good, of course, to have a lanyard, both your camera and the LCDVF itself, because otherwise, one might fall down.
And one thing maybe worth mentioning is that as with all the other LCDVF viewfinders, this one doesn't have diopter correction. And then if someone wants to, let's say, add correction for like +1 or +2, then there is the option to add diopter correction lenses. But there is no built-in diopter correction. Albeit this, the eyepiece itself is designed so that it's really easy to use also with glasses.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, eye cushion is really important, in my opinion, on all viewfinders, also because it prevents fogging up of the glass. Because if you, in summer when it's hot and you're out shooting and you have your eye on the rubber, it just happens quite often on all kinds of viewfinders, both electronic and analog ones, that the glass will fog up, and this kind of prevents this. This is also one thing that I recommend every cameraman to own, even if because this is something you can take with you from a rental camera to another rental camera. because it's kind of like, it's a bit disgusting to use the same thing as all the other camera guys. So that's one thing that I would always carry with me if you use another person's camera.
I think it is an interesting story also for this company in Canada who makes these eye cushions for us. Before, they were only, let's say, selling for rental companies and people who wanted to rent equipment. And when we launched this LCDVF like almost like 11 years ago, they were skeptical. How and why would everybody would like to use that? And by now, their company is also grown quite a bit because everybody is using these eye cushions, and the idea of using an eye cushion has really become a popular thing. Before that, it was like only professional and rental market, and then now everybody is using this.
No, really cool. I think it's really necessary. So you mentioned the diopter adjustment that you can add in here. I mean, I actually had this question for you because originally I thought that turning this here would change the diopter, but it doesn't. So why does this even turn?
Because it is purely design-wise. It's just nice to touch and have it there. And actually, it is also a part of the overall construction. And making it stop would make it a little bit more expensive or time-consuming to manufacture.
I think it's really important that you mention this to buyers, because it's one thing that a lot of, like if you look at the viewfinder that comes with a FS7 or FX9 or whatever, it has a diopter correction built in that works that way. So it's obvious why people think that would work this way, but it's good to know that it doesn't. So one other thing, I mean, some people might ask how this can actually work, because this is a touch screen camera. So how do you suggest people use this?
Yeah, the initial prototypes we had this opening here, but then again the reflections from the opening were not really good, because this screen on that camera, it is really reflective. And if you have this lanyard around your neck, you can still really quickly dial in your settings and still put on the loop.
People need to attach a frame, like a magnetic frame to this. Is this a permanent thing, or could this be taken off again? Let's say if somebody sells the camera.
Yeah, it uses organic adhesive, and it's really easy to remove. I will just... It actually ships with this type of nice box and foam and everything. And two of these frames are included. And if you look closely, one of the corners of the frame is shaped differently than the others, and it has this little filleted edge in here where you can start peeling off the frame if you want to remove it. Albeit this frame is so thin that it will bend and you cannot reuse the frame itself. But then again, the replacement frames are available, and as it comes with two frames, you can even mess up the first try.
Yeah, it's really cool. So last but not least, I think the optics I found of a very high quality.
Yeah,
there's very little the distortion, I think.
Yeah, and also very little chromatic aberration. Let's say some other viewfinders have a really plain lens in the design, and it will cause chromatic aberrations. So you don't know if your lens is causing the chromatic aberrations or the viewfinder itself. And this was from the day one when I started with this project. I wanted to have the best possible optics.
All right, Tony. So what about pricing and availability? I think you already mentioned that people can already order it.
Yeah.
But how much is it?
I think without VAT it is like 160 or 159 euros. And it's almost the same in the US.
All right, thank you, Tony. That was really comprehensive. Thanks for giving us a rundown of the new LCDVF for the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and 6K. And good luck with everything.
All right, bye.
Thanks, guys, for watching, and stay tuned to Cinema 5D for more news from our virtual show. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.